Hey everybody, it's me, Randy Ray, the Literate Texan, back here at Driftwood Ranch. Welcome to another one of my videos. This is a traditional book haul video. I've got a few books over the last week that I want to show off. I don't have a big budget for buying books these days, so even when I get a stack of 5 of them, like I have here, and I'll show you, I kind of want to show them off. You see what I've done here? I'm not showing the spines so that it builds suspense, and you're going to want to watch till the end to see all 5 books. I'm learning, right? So, okay, at the top of this stack, I got, this is sort of a cross between a book and a magazine. It's the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, but it might as well be a book. I mean, there's like 256 pages per issue now. A few years ago, they stopped doing a monthly magazine, and now they do a bi-monthly magazine every other month. I have a lifetime subscription. I don't think they sell those anymore, but at the time I had the money, and fantasy and science fiction was one of my earliest and most enjoyable reading experiences. My mom bought me a subscription to fantasy and science fiction in 1982 when I was only 12 years old. And she loved Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine and Alfred Hitchcock's magazine. I got Fantasy and Science Fiction magazine and Isaac Asimov's Science Fiction magazine, but for some reason, I never got analog, but I would occasionally pick it up at the newsstand. My favorite was the Twilight Zone magazine, but it's long gone. So anyway, the best thing to do with these fantasy and science fiction magazines, in my opinion, is to read them from cover to cover. And notice when you really, really love a story in here. Because if you really, really love a story in here, then you can go out and find entire books written by that author. And I've gone back and read some of those 1982 issues that I have and learned that I really love Thomas M. Dish. He's terrific. I'm in the middle of The Businessman right now, and I finished the MD not too long ago, which is a very non-traditional horror story. It was some of the last stuff that he'd written, but I also read some of his earliest stuff like Camp Concentration too, but it's been really enjoyable. So anyway, this is the 74th year of publication, which means that this magazine has been in print since 21 years before I was born. And so we've got a novella, A Half-Remembered World by Amy Ogden here, a novelette, The Very Nasty Aquarium by Peter S. Beagle. That name probably sounds familiar because he wrote The Last Unicorn. I don't really know what the difference between a novella and a novelette is. I'm sure that they're based on word counts, but I think for readers like you and me, I don't know that they mean much. And then they've got a whole long list of short stories here, which is nice, because sometimes they'll have a novella or two, and then you won't have any room for the short stories, and you might only get 3 or 4 short stories. But I'm usually here for the short stories. The first one is titled Approved Methods of Love Divination in the First-Rate City of Dushagorod by Christina Tin. Don't know anything about that or the author. Vanishing Point by R.J. Taylor, someone else I've never heard of. The Pet of Oludamare. I don't recognize these authors either. Serenity Prayer by Faith Marino. I do know about the Serenity Prayer. We Go on Faith Alone, K.S. Walker, Little Bird by Jill McMillan, Gather Me a Treasure by Jordan Chase Young. I don't know any of these authors. NPC, or 8 Hacksploits to Maximize Your Endgame. That's probably got something to do with role-playing games. Devon Sanders. A Meal for Frederick, Nick Thomas. The Day of the Sea by Jennifer Hudak. What to Do When a Protagonist Visits Your Generic Village. I love that title. Dan Peacock. Pedestals, Proclivities, and Perpetuities. Celeste Rita Baker. That's an example of alliteration, by the way. I know that because I used to be an English teacher, sort of. A Time to Sing by Eddie D. Moore. The Giant Stream by Beth Goder. There's 2 more on the next page of the... Nope, that's all the short stories. Don't know any of the authors' names, so I'm looking forward to seeing if that's somebody I might or might not like. How to Pack for a Quest by Mary Soon Lee and Lost Lines from Ariel's Song are 2 poems in this issue. I never get too excited about poems in fantasy and science fiction magazine, and I never have. And then they've got their departments listed here. There's an editorial from Cherie Renee Thomas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Waves on Waves is the title of it, which tells me nothing in terms of what it's about. Books to Look For by Charles DeLint, which often or occasionally is the absolutely best thing about fantasy and science fiction magazine. His column about books is just always great. And he writes his own stuff too, fantasy stuff. Musings on Books by Michelle West and Books by Elizabeth Hand. So they've got 3 columns about books in this issue. Plumage from Pegasus, I, for one, welcome our new insect literatures by Paul DeFilippo. I don't know how that's a department. Plumage from Pegasus, maybe it's the name of the department. I'm not sure what it's all about. Let's see here. What else we got here? Coming attractions, competition number 105, by the numbers, science, fireworks, and curiosities. Curiosities is always a 1-page thing in the back. This actually came in really good condition, and they put the address there on the back. Oh, golly, I just held up my address on TV. Please don't steal my identity. Trust me, you don't want to be me. Although, being me, I gotta admit, it's fun being me. Forgive me, I'm on medication that makes my mouth really dry. Otherwise, I wouldn't drink in front of you because I can't offer you anything. I was taught that if you're polite, you don't eat or drink or anything in front of somebody unless you can offer them some too. But my voice would just stop if I didn't drink a little water. I'm also really excited about this. I got the new Matthew Norman book in the mail today. He's terrific. He writes kind of rom-com stuff, but he's not a woman. Or maybe he is, I don't know. I don't think he is, though. Charm City Rocks, A Love Story is the name of this. Okay, so I'm going to read just a quick blurb here. When a single dad meets the former rock star crush of his youth, everything they thought they knew about happiness and love is thrown into chaos in this hopeful, heartwarming, romantic comedy. It's right up my alley. He's such a great writer. I've loved every single one of his books so far. And here's one of the quotes at the bottom. If Daisy Jones and Emily Henry had a baby, it would be this hilarious and delightful rock and roll rom-com. And that's Colleen Oakley, the USA Today best-selling author of The Mostly True Story of Tanner and Louise, which I know nothing about. Anyway, I'm really excited about reading this. I wish I could get to it sooner, but I do have some commitments. BookTube at War, for one. Summer of Trek still going on. I got a lot more books to read for that. But I will get to it soon when I need a break from all that other stuff. And here's one that I'm really excited about. I don't usually get too excited about books that are library editions, but this is a library edition and I am excited about it. This is The Unknown Conan Doyle, Uncollected Stories by Arthur Conan Doyle. 33 fascinating and diverse tales, 10 of them newly identified as the work of the master storyteller. I used to have a copy of this. I don't know what happened to it, but it's gone now. I probably sold it to make the rent or something. But this copy's probably in about as good a condition as that. But yeah, he wrote a lot of stuff that wasn't just series fiction. I have some other collections of his short stories in there. There were some themed collections that came out a few years ago. I've got a themed collection of Arthur Conan Doyle short stories that are all about boxing and camping. There's like 10 or 12 stories in there, and they're all on that same theme. I think that's terrific. And there were a whole series of like 6 or 7 of those. He was really prolific. He didn't just write Sherlock Holmes stories, and he didn't just write Sherlock Holmes and Professor Challenger stories. Man, he cranked it out. And he's a good writer, man. Really worth checking out. This was a recommendation from Steve Donahue. My daughters are reading the Twilight series, and I asked him if there was something similar that we could upgrade to, that would scratch that same itch for my daughters, but also be really good. And he recommended the Mortal Instruments series. And so I picked up City of Bones for me and my daughters to read. And reading the summary of it, it does sound like it hits all those notes. I think there's vampires, werewolves, and a whole lot more in here. I don't know. I don't read a lot of young adult, but I'm pretty open-minded, and I have eclectic tastes. Anyone who's watched this channel for anything like the time probably knows I'm kind of a bookish slut. I'll read anything, right? So this last one here I'm pretty excited about too. I'm friends with Kat at another Ginger Bibliophile Reads, or I can't remember the name of her channel. That's the medication again. I'll look it up so that I know I get it right, and I'll put it in the description down below for you. But I got James Rollins' The Cradle of Ice in the mail today, which is the second book in a series that started with The Starless Crown. The Starless Crown was recommended by Steve Donahue as one of his 10 best fantasy and science fiction books of the year. So I already had a copy of it. She's already read it, and Kat's delightful. I'm so excited we're going to do a buddy read together. But Kat is delightful. We're going to buddy read both of these books, The Cradle of Ice and The Starless Crown, which is in my other room. These are the first two books in a series called Moonfall Saga, which were written by James Rollins. I had to look him up. Generally, he writes urban adventure kind of stuff, modern thriller things. So I'm excited to see what that kind of sensibility brings to a fantasy novel. Anyway, there'll be more about that on this channel soon because I'm getting ready to dig into that. These are long books, though. And I've also got Gone with the Wind to contend with, which is 823 pages. I still haven't finished Lonesome Dove, which I'm buddy reading with Priscilla at the Evening Reader. And I don't want to finish it because it's so wonderful. But, it's good to stay busy, right? Anyway, that's my book haul video today. Thank you for watching. Stay hydrated, stay sexy. I'll see you next time.